Here's a fun fact for you guys. The day I was going to film my review of the Fanatec Clubsport Wheel V2, I get an email saying they just announced and released the Fanatec Clubsport Wheel V2.5. Now, I emailed them and said it would be counterintuitive to review a product that they had just discontinued, so they sent me the V2.5 to review, and 2 months later, here I am with the review. Now, apart from this logo engraved onto the front of the V2.5, you're not really going to notice anything different on the front of the wheel. Neither are you going to see anything on the back different, or on the top different, or on the sides different. Now, the question is, what exactly is different from this wheel than a shiny new logo? To answer that question, I am going to refer to the information on the Fanatec website.
The Fanatec Clubsport Wheelbase 2.5 is a careful and precise evolution of the highly successful V2. While utilizing most of the proven technology of its predecessor, the version 2.5 also comes with more advanced electronics and a new motor for improved feeling, functionality, and even higher durability. Due to the strong demand and high volumes, we also managed to significantly lower the price of this wheelbase. The electronics now feature a faster USB update rate of 1000 Hz and allow for firmware updates of the new motor driver. The tuning menu features have been improved, now featuring an advanced drift mode, which can now add a natural damper to avoid oscillation, or a negative damper, which will speed up the wheel while turning. The front plate of this Clubsport Wheelbase 2.5 comes in a new finish, displaying the Fanatec logo.
Now the question is this all marketing mumbo jumbo? Or is this something where it is genuinely a better product? Let's get this one out of the way and we'll find out. There we go. Okay, so as configured, I was sent the Fanatec Clubsport Wheel V2.5 as well as the universal hub with the Forza Motorsport rim compatible with the Xbox One and the Formula Carbon rim. Now, I spent about 2 months testing this out, and I am going to break this into a few different parts. Now, my criteria for reviewing the wheel, especially comparing to its predecessor, is the 4 S's: smoothness, speed, strength, and software. These 4 criteria are what I feel sets wheels apart and what makes one wheel better than the other. To put it bluntly, yes, I have noticed this is a faster wheel than a version 2.0. I'm not sure what exactly contributes to it though. Fanatec has been somewhat vague on what they have improved in this wheel, but they have told us 3 concrete things. The first thing is the refresh rate has been doubled from 500 Hz to 1000 Hz. Now, some people have said this is just marketing mumbo jumbo, it doesn't really have an effect on the sim, but I am not sure. I don't really have the pedigree for electrical engineering to really vouch for it either way. The second thing that Fanatec has touted is this has a stronger, smoother, and faster force feedback motor. And also improved electronics is the third thing. I believe those 2 are more contributing to what makes this wheel a better one. And one of the things that makes me think that is even when this wheel was turned off, I felt it being smoother and quicker. I think it had less natural dampening and less natural resistance inside this wheel. I don't know if it is because of the ball bearings might have been improved inside the electronics and the mechanical bits in this wheel, but it was a better wheel in my opinion. Yep, this is a smoother wheel. I'm going to refer you to the previous reasons mentioned below, and I'm going to say that is quite a remarkable feat, especially since the belts used in this wheelbase are identical to the ones used in the version 2.0. So it's other parts in this wheel that are contributing to the smoothness, not better belts or something of that sort. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but yep, this wheel is stronger than the Clubsport Wheel V2.0. I can't really see through the plexiglass window, but I believe the motor in this is an improved model, which is leading to it becoming a stronger wheel. Now here's where things start to get a little tricky. On paper, this is supposed to be a better wheel in terms of the software, and I'm not doubting that in an ideal situation. However, in my real-world application, this has had some issues. One of the touted new features of this wheel is called the reverse drift mode. Now, for those of you who aren't really too knowledgeable on the Fanatec software and things of that nature, drift mode is essentially like power steering. When you turn the wheel, it actually will speed up the steering on it artificially to give a quicker steering response, which some people might like. And also, this is great for, as implied in the title, drifting. However, I'm not a fan of that. I prefer the natural dampening of the wheel. So Fanatec has implemented a feature called negative drift mode, which is actually going to imply a natural dampener in the wheel. However, I have not noticed the negative drift mode in the firmware or the software for this wheel. I have searched around for it, and I did notice there was a Fanatec beta driver in the blog, but upon loading that and loading the custom firmware, I still didn't notice the new mode. Also, when I first plugged in this wheel, there were some various issues with the driver, but the beta driver in fact did fix those issues. However, as of right now, I'm going to say no. The software on the Fanatec Clubsport wheel V2.5 is not better than the version 2.0. If you already own the Fanatec Clubsport wheel version 2.0, I would say take a pass on this wheel. Despite this wheel being better in almost every way, the version 2.0 is still an incredible wheel, and ultimately this $500 wheelbase is just going to provide minor updates. I'd say ultimately it is not worth that money. If you are able to sell the Clubsport wheel V2 and get this at a reduced price, I would say be more inclined to get this. However, if you own any other lower down wheel, this would be a solid upgrade. If you own the Thrustmaster T500 down, this is a great upgrade. Granted, I have not tried the Thrustmaster TSPC yet, so I can't vouch for that opinion, but if you have a T500 or a lower down wheel, this is a great upgrade. If you drive a Logitech racing wheel, this is an astounding upgrade, and it is a great improvement, and especially it's pretty decent value for the money. Granted, you are also going to have to get a wheel rim, and that's where these two puppies come in. So let's get this wheelbase out of the way and talk about these rims. Not bad, first try. So Fanatec supplied me with the Formula Carbon rim as well as the Universal Xbox One hub with the Forza Motorsport rim. Now I did equal testing with both of these rims, and I will say I'm pretty darn impressed by both, especially considering that my previous exposure to a Fanatec rim was the CSL Steering Wheel P1, which I reviewed alongside the CSL Elite wheelbase. These are definitely in a league of their own. They ooze quality, and they have a very haptic, tactile feel to them. Just listen to these paddle shifters. Yeah, clicky for the win. However, I will say these are not perfect. I am a little more disappointed by the Formula Carbon rim than by this one though. I am a little disappointed with the smaller rim size. This is at about, I think, 10.5 inches, and I would say this I would have enjoyed a lot more if it was closer to 11. That sounds like a smaller difference, but with this, driving with the rigorous driving conditions with a strong wheel, you are going to start feeling it in your hands. They might cramp up a bit, which happened in my testing, but this is still a great wheel. Now this, on the other hand, I really started gravitating to more, and I really enjoyed this. And believe it or not, this actually did feel smoother than this one. And I have a bit of a theory to that. With the way force is applied, this is a significantly smaller diameter wheel rim than this. So that means you're feeling the force distributed throughout a smaller diameter rim. And that means you're feeling more of the force. Also, with that, you're having less of the dampening, because even if you turn down the force feedback, you're gonna feel it more, and you might almost feel some borderline notchiness. With this rim, it was butter smooth. And I think there are two things that attribute to that. A, the larger diameter, and that distributes the strength of the wheel more over a larger diameter. Also, despite this being a heavier rim than the Formula Carbon, this is actually less dense. There's a larger surface area of the rim. Also, a lot of the wheel's weight is distributed inside the universal hub. So that means a lot of this weight is not on the outside rim. And since this is in a smaller area, you're gonna feel less dense on the outside of the wheel rim, and that means it's gonna be a little bit smoother. Now, these are just my theories. I don't really have the science backing these up, but I think that is largely why I tended to gravitate over to this more. And even though I did enjoy a lot of open wheel cars with this, I would have loved to see it with a larger diameter, or at least an option of that. Granted, you can get the universal hub with a rim that is more closer to an open wheel style. However, I did really enjoy the aesthetics of the Formula Carbon rim. And another thing I really enjoyed was the LCD display on the front of this. Now, there is a display on top of the universal hub, but I feel it's kind of tacked on. It is just a 3-digit display. As opposed to this, it has a larger 3-digit display, also RPM lights, which are excellent. And they are also fully compatible with Fanatec. And I'm gonna say, you're gonna wanna install Fanatec with these wheels, and I'm gonna tell you why. Another minor issue I bumped into with the software on the Clubsport wheel V2.5 is there is a limited compatibility for the rev lights. Now, in Assetto Corsa and R-Factor 2 and Automobilista, I had no issues whatsoever with the LEDs and RPM lights. However, with titles such as iRacing and Race Room Racing Experience, I did have some minor issues. So I went to fanaleds.com and I downloaded their latest driver, which is compatible with the Clubsport wheel version 2.5. I installed that and boom, it was working just as intended on Race Room Racing Experience and on iRacing. But ultimately, I'm going to say that if you do prefer an open wheel style driving wheel and you're willing to put up with a relatively smaller size, this is a great option. If you're wanting a more open experience or you're wanting Xbox One compatibility, the universal hub with the Forza Motorsport rim or any other rim of your choice is a great option. But now let's bring the wheelbase back up and get to our pros and cons. Dang it. There we go. So let's start off with the pros. My first pro is this is an incredibly smooth, fast, and strong wheel. The improvements over the Clubsport wheel V2 are no placebo, and despite you not really seeing much of a difference, it is a significant improvement and actually could really tell. This actually, if I was blindfolded and I was testing this out, A, I would crash a lot, and B, I could almost be mistaken for this being a direct drive wheel. This is an incredibly smooth and fast wheel. It is one of the smoothest force feedback belt driven wheels I've ever tested, and that's saying something. My second pro is it's compatible with all of the Fanatec Clubsport and CSL line of accessories. You are able to use wheel rims such as these that were previously compatible with the Fanatec Clubsport wheel V2 and also the V1. In addition, you're also able to use other peripherals and accessories such as the Clubsport shifter, the Clubsport pedals, CSL shifter, and also Clubsport handbrake. and that is a great amount of variety. Also, best of all, you're able to plug it directly into the wheelbase, so you can use all those accessories on a single USB or on the Xbox, granted you have the appropriate wheel rim. The next pro might be controversial to some, but it is that this wheelbase is aesthetically identical to the Clubsport wheel V2.5. That means the mounting holes at the bottom are identical, so you do not have to drill new holes into a cockpit or alter your mounting situation in any way. In fact, I also used the exact same cords from the V2 and had no issues whatsoever. And now let's get on to some of the cons, and while the list isn't long, there are a few that are worth mentioning. The first con is, as mentioned before, there are some teething pains with the driver and firmware. I did have some issues with the driver, namely not adjusting automatic degrees of rotation to certain sims when it was supposed to. For example, in Race Room Racing Experience, the wheel would not adjust the degrees of rotation to match the car I was driving, despite being set in the automatic sensitivity function. Granted, that's a quick fix where you're able to just enter the quick tuning menu and adjust the sensitivity, and that will be it. However, it is slightly irritating to do that for every car you drive. Add that to the issues with not accessing the negative drift mode, and also some driver utility issues I had before loading the beta update, and that is something that is worth mentioning in the cons category. That will likely be an easy fix in the near future when Fanatec rolls out a stable update, but I am slightly disappointed that this wasn't checked in QA. My next con is this can get pretty pricey, especially if you're not looking for a wheel that's compatible with consoles. Sure, the base did have a $100 price drop from $599 for the Clubsport Wheel V2 to $499, so that I give Fanatec props for. However, if you're looking at getting the universal hub with the Forza Motorsport rim, add another $400 to that. Yep, this is only $100 less than the base itself. So that means this is a $900 combination. The Formula Carbon is reasonably priced, but that means you're still looking at about $780 to $800. Granted, you're also able to get the CSL steering wheel P1, and that's at $79, so you can get a decent combination for under $600, but I would recommend getting a higher quality rim than the P1. And the thing is, if you're considering $900 for the base and the hub with rim, you're also going to be getting into open sim wheel territory. You're going to be getting into AccuForce territory. So the question is, do you need the console compatibility? If not, why not look at a direct drive wheel? My last con is in the form of a question. Is this enough of a step up? And I'm not too sure. This rightfully does earn the 2.5 name. I don't see this as a full step up. I don't see this as having enough of a technical advancement. Granted, this is one of the best belt-driven wheels I've ever tested, but it leaves me wondering, could Fanatec have done more? Or are they deliberately holding back for their direct drive wheel, which is planned later this year? And now for my bottom line, I'm going to be doing something a little differently. I'm going to be giving 3 separate scores. For the Clubsport wheel base, I am giving a 9.0 out of 10. For the universal hub and the Forza Motorsport rim, I am giving an 8.6 out of 10. And for the Formula Carbon rim, I'm going to give it an 8.7 out of 10. These are all great products. I really enjoy driving with all of these. Even though the Formula Carbon rim does at least irritate me in some ways, I feel the technical prowess. Also, listen to those buttons. Very haptic, very tactile, very high quality, and it is a great option. So I will say this is a great wheel. These are great options, and this is now my highest rated wheel. Now here are my thoughts on the Fanatec Clubsport wheel version 2.5, as well as these two rims. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Fanatec's latest wheelbase? Let us know in the comments. Also, if you like this video, please hit that like button down below and subscribe to help keep us on track. Also, check out the Sim Racing Paddock forums and join our community. We have some exciting events planned that we would love for you to take a part in. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a great rest of your day.